She didn't shout, she didn't sob. Instead, she placed my luggage on the porch of the house I designed, gazed at me intently, and declared, "You must depart. I can't tolerate someone I don't trust residing in my home." This statement echoed in my mind during my journey to my brother's apartment in Phoenix's East Side. In a rush, I hastily folded my dress shirts inside a bag that I packed in mere minutes while she stood at the door with her arms crossed, already convinced of my guilt. What will devastate you when you hear this tale isn't her actions, but the reasons behind them and who instigated them. My name is Everett Callahan. At 44 years old, I am a licensed civil engineer with 2 decades of experience in constructing transportation infrastructure throughout Greater Phoenix. Projects such as bridges, highway expansions, and desert city drainage systems are part of my repertoire. Contrary to popular belief, I am not a man given to emotional outbursts or grand displays of emotion. I am the type of individual who scrutinizes contracts before affixing my signature, triple verifies load calculations prior to endorsing a design, and consistently arrives ahead of schedule while remaining past sundown without uttering a single complaint. I believe these attributes made me an admirable spouse. However, I discovered they merely rendered me underestimated by Nadine after she ousted me from our household based solely on her sister's testimony. For 3 weeks following the eviction, I pondered over this revelation and allowed it to solidify into a sensation I had never encountered before. Not fury, not sorrow, not panic. Instead, lucidity. If this narrative strikes a chord with you, remain connected. Click the subscribe button immediately and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been falsely accused by someone who was supposed to cherish you? I eagerly await your responses. And don't forget to press the like button, as this tale is just beginning its journey. 38-year-old Nadine Whitfield Callahan, CEO of midsize commercial real estate development company Whitfield & Associates, took over the business in 2013 when her father's health deteriorated. Since then, she more than doubled the firm's annual revenue. Known for her intelligence and determination, she had a knack for making others feel as if they were underdressed at a formal event they hadn't realized was formal. We first encountered each other in 2016 at a City Planning Commission meeting, where I presented infrastructure requirements for a mixed-use development on Loop 101. She was the driving force behind this project, and we had a 40-minute debate about storm drain capacity with her never wavering once. Impressed by her precise knowledge of storm drains, I invited her to dinner that same night. 2019 saw our marriage at the Hermosa Inn in Paradise Valley, a choice made by her. The event was funded by her family, and the guest list of 200 people, mostly unfamiliar faces to me, was her doing. My brother Garrett, Father Harold, 2 college companions, and 4 colleagues from my company, instructed not to bring gifts, occupied my side of the church during the ceremony. From its inception, our lives exhibited a unique structure. Nadine's life was expansive and dynamic, while mine was technical and systematic. We were a stronger pair like different materials in composite construction. What I hadn't entirely anticipated was the underlying base. Primarily, I hadn't anticipated her sister Brittany. Brittany Whitfield, aged 35, 2 years younger than Nadine, had yet to determine her life's purpose. For approximately 18 months, she managed a lifestyle blog and gained some popularity, then shifted to selling vintage clothes online, later moving on to become a wellness consultant, seemingly offering hiking pictures from Camelback Mountain at sunrise and $400 an hour phone consultations that I couldn't decipher. She resided in a condo near us, which Nadine helped her purchase following her second divorce. On most Sunday evenings, she dined at our house. At least twice monthly, she borrowed Nadine's car without prior notice. She called Nadine at late hours to discuss issues that, as far as I could discern, didn't have practical resolutions because they were not real problems. Instead, they seemed to be Brittany simulating distress in order for Nadine to show concern. I never vocalized these thoughts. I'm not the type of man who forces his wife to choose between him and her family, but I'm a man who can detect underlying issues. Brittany represented an issue with strong poise and meticulously managed social media presence. She never showed any liking for me. She was always courteous on the outside, making light-hearted comments that seemed affectionate if anyone questioned them, but I could read her dislike as clearly as a crack in a concrete pillar. I posed a threat to Brittany because I was the only person in Nadine's life who had ever said no to her when Brittany asked for something. It began subtly. Nadine wanted to cost in Brittany's lease for a retail space for a boutique she planned to open. I questioned the viability of the venture, citing Brittany's history of failed businesses in 4 years and asking for a backup plan if the boutique couldn't cover its rent. Nadine stopped momentarily to question Brittany with similar queries. The planned boutique never materialized, and Brittany never forgave me. Tensions grew gradually, fueled by occasional remarks and subtle hints. It appeared Everett managed the finances. Had Everett endorsed that action? His objections were always cloaked in smiles, making them deniable, yet insidiously undermining Nadine's autonomy, causing her to doubt herself. Unforeseen was Brittany's ability to construct a compelling argument. The lie assumed a precise form. In the February of this year, Nadine's firm was engrossed in a complex acquisition involving a commercial property portfolio in Tempe. The due diligence process was extensive, keeping her occupied for 14-hour days and most weekends. Simultaneously, my firm had secured a contract for a grade separation project on the I-10 near Chandler, with me as the lead. We were both overwhelmed and under pressure, leaving us less attentive to our marriage than we should have been. It was during that period when Brittany made her move. I had a coworker named Priya, who was a city transportation planner with whom I had collaborated on numerous projects for 8 years. We had a working dinner at Blanco Tacos on 24th Street that month, discussing a public comment hearing that had extended 3 hours past its scheduled end. I paid the bill, and I shared this with Nadine later that day, as I usually do when having work dinners, since I am transparent and have never kept secrets. Coincidentally, Brittany was at Blanco Tacos on the same night. She didn't acknowledge me, chose not to approach, instead observing from afar. Instead of greeting or alerting Nadine, she captured a photo of Priya and me engaged in discussion over project documents, our voices raised due to the noisy environment. Afterward, Brittany waited before showing Nadine. Over a fortnight, she subtly inquired and conversed about the event, constructing a storyline first. Has Everett been working excessively? How has your relationship been lately, considering your apparent exhaustion concerns me? Nadine arrived home on Thursday evening. I was seated at the kitchen table, scrutinizing drainage calculations with a highlighter and a lukewarm coffee. She placed her phone on the table without speaking, revealing a photograph of Brittany. Nadine had taken this photo. "This is Priya," she said, her voice barely above a whisper yet still audible. She had been holding on to it for 2 weeks out of concern for my feelings. I raised my gaze to meet hers. "Yes, that's Priya. We had a work dinner. I mentioned it to you the night it occurred." "You mentioned you dined with an individual from the city office." "I did. That was my response. You didn't clarify it was a woman." I paused momentarily to ensure accuracy. "For 15 years as your colleague and 3 years as your spouse, Nadine, I have never provided a reason for you not to trust me. I told you it was a work dinner, and I omitted mentioning my colleague's gender because I didn't consider it relevant information." Later, I realized the conversation wasn't about the photograph, but rather, it served as a means for Brittany to present something she had been preparing for quite some time. Upon saying that I wanted to speak with Priya immediately, I made clear my intention to listen in on the discussion myself. "You don't need to elaborate on what we discussed. The projects under consideration, our meal choice, or duration of our meeting, is that sufficient for your purposes? I need you to assure me there's no underlying issue between us." "There is no hidden issue. Priya is a transportation planner with whom I have collaborated on infrastructure projects for 8 years. Our relationship is strictly professional." She appeared to accept my explanation and ascended the stairs. I remained at the kitchen table, feeling an intangible change within the house, similar to the sensation of impending weather before a storm. I should have pressed further that night, confronting the issue more directly. However, I didn't because I thought the moment had passed. It hadn't. It had simply moved beneath the surface where Brittany could address it with greater care. 3 days later, Nadine requested some personal space. Returned home from work on a Monday to find an unpacked suitcase in the foyer, not hers. She'd left it for me to pack, indicating her newfound confidence. Standing at the kitchen island with a glass of wine and an unfamiliar expression, neither angry nor sad but icy, she said, "Brittany showed me more." I stood near my own luggage in the hallway, waiting. "She discovered messages between you and Priya on your old work email." "What messages?" "Messages expressing admiration, messages longing for more time together, messages stating that she was the most intriguing coworker you'd encountered in years." I remained still. "Nadine, I need to see those messages." Brittany produced them. "Then I must see the printouts." She pushed a folder across the island toward me. Upon opening it, I read the messages. They were not my words, but the format was correct. The header, font, and company signature were familiar, yet the words seemed alien. The phrasing wasn't my own. I don't compose emails like that. I don't think like that. Someone had attempted to mimic my style, but they fell short. They failed to capture my true voice. Yet I knew that telling Nadine, "These aren't my words," wouldn't be enough, because the person who asserted they were my words was someone she trusted implicitly. And as Brittany had conveyed in her tale, my trustworthiness was now under scrutiny. "These are false," I stated. Nadine examined me intently. "The emails were forgeries. I didn't compose these messages. I don't write like this. I don't converse like this. You've known me for 7 years. Does this sound like me?" Everett, she presented the headers to me. "Headers can be falsified. I'm a civil engineer, not a cybersecurity expert. However, I understand that email addresses can be falsified and images manipulated. What I ask you to ponder at this moment is a single query. Has there been any verifiable instance in our 7-year relationship where I have provided cause, not just suspicion or emotion, but tangible evidence suggesting I could perform such an action?" There was no immediate response. That silence spoke volumes. "I require some time," she eventually said. "How much time do you need?" I didn't know. "What I needed from you was to vacate the premises so I could think rationally." I gathered my luggage. I made my way to the front door. Before leaving, I turned back one last time and spoke. "Nadine, regardless of whatever Brittany may have told or shown you, question her motives. Consider what she stands to gain from this. And when you're ready for an open dialogue, reach out." She didn't contact me that evening, nor the next day. Drove to my younger brother Garrett's apartment close to Peastwa Peak and stayed on his couch for the initial 22 nights. Garrett, with a difference of 2 years in age, oversees a commercial HVAC company on the western side. He works with his hands, has been married to Donna for 15 years. Garrett is not a man who deals in subtleties. When I arrived at his doorstep with a suitcase and a controlled, composed face, he looked at me for precisely 3 seconds before asking, "Come in." "Beer or something harder?" To which I replied, "Share your thoughts." He offered me a beer. "I believe your wife was deceived by her sister, and I suspect you'll need a lawyer." I didn't want to accept that it was as straightforward as he suggested. I harbored hope that Nadine would overcome her predicament, returning to her usual self, with the woman I wedded, who debated storm drain capacity with the finesse of an experienced engineer, scrutinizing presented evidence in the same meticulous manner. However, she was absent for 11 days before sending a text. "Are you considering your actions?" I pondered over this message for 6 minutes. Afterwards, I placed my phone on Garrett's kitchen counter and announced aloud, "Here it is." She wasn't inquiring about my well-being or proposing conversation. Instead, she was questioning if I had contemplated my behavior, indicating that she had already judged my actions as flawed, her verdict reached without my presence, and now expecting penitence from me. On that day, I chose not to respond, but contacted my lawyer instead. Previously, I collaborated with David Ferris on a contract disagreement at my office. His area of expertise extended to family law, but he was an attorney who listened more than he spoke, which indicated his ability to recognize that crucial information is often hidden in the unknown. I disclosed everything: the phone, emails, suitcase, text message, and also something I hadn't shared with anyone else yet, because for 11 days at Garrett's apartment, I was anything but still. I was preoccupied with the printed emails Brittany had given me, and I contacted Priya. To her credit, Priya was incensed on my behalf. She never sent nor received those messages. We maintained a professional rapport that she held in high regard, and she was deeply distressed by what I had related. More significantly, she was the daughter of an IT professional who knew just how to respond. She reached out to the city's IT security team, requesting them to retrieve email logs from both her account and mine during the specified timeframe. The logs demonstrated no such communication, neither deleted nor archived. Instead, they were inconspicuously missing, as those emails had never been dispatched via either server. Priya shared the IT department's written report with me. I forwarded it to David. After reading them, he posed a question. "Everett, do you wish to salvage this marriage or bring it to an end?" I took a while to respond, as the straightforward answer eluded me. The truthful response was, "I yearn for the marriage I believed in, but I don't think that marriage still exists." What I verbalized instead was, "Prepare the legal documents." On a Tuesday morning, the divorce petition arrived. I precisely remember its arrival time because Nadine called me 40 minutes later, and her name appeared on my phone screen 3 times before I responded. "What do I see before me?" Her voice, once steady, now wavered. The certainty had vanished, replaced by something more primal, exposed. "Divorce documents," I responded evenly. "You asked me to examine my actions." I did. I examined the act of being evicted from our home, based on false accusations, and I examined what it signified that you didn't contact me in 11 days to verify the truth. And I examined the fact that when you eventually got in touch, you questioned my remorse, suggesting you had already judged me. A pause ensued. "That's what I contemplated, Nadine." Silence. Everett. "In the filing, you will discover a report from the City of Phoenix IT Security Department, verifying that the emails Brittany displayed were never sent via my work account or Priya's account. A notarized declaration from Priya outlines our business-oriented interactions and validates the discussion at Blanco Tacos as a professional matter. In February, amidst the project files we perused, I maintained composure. Everything Brittany shared with you was false. I warned you it was a fabrication the very night you pushed that folder towards me across the table. You chose not to trust my words. The pause seemed interminable, causing me to question if the connection had failed. Then Nadine chimed in. She did." I kept my tone even. I had rehearsed this statement not because of calculated intentions, but due to spending 22 nights on my brother's couch, knowing precisely what I needed to express and resisting emotions from distorting it. Brittany forged those emails. She may have either manipulated a genuine email exchange or forged phony headers using a fraudulent tool, but her presentation was false regardless. Despite my faith in her, you seemed to doubt mine, choosing to dismiss me without query. "Let me explain myself. I afforded you 11 days. She fell silent again. "My attorney will contact yours," I stated. "I hope you're well, Nadine." I ended the call. In the parking lot of a McDowell Road coffee shop, I remained motionless for approximately 4 minutes. Then I entered, bought a large black coffee, opened my laptop, and resumed examining load calculations for the Chandler grade separation. With tasks never ending, neither am I. Subsequent events were primarily relayed to me by Garrett, who still communicated with Donna, who was acquainted with Nadine's social circle. Nadine confronted Brittany the same day she contacted me. Based on information I received indirectly, the conversation was not silent or straightforward. Initially, Brittany denied fabricating anything. The emails were authentic, contrary to the IT department's claim. She believed someone at the city was shielding me. Nadine was supposedly being manipulated, allegedly by me, my lawyers, and Priya, whom Brittany insinuated had her own reasons for safeguarding me. Later, Nadine presented Brittany with the IT department's findings in written form, detail by detail. Upon this, Brittany started to cry, claiming fear and asserting that she was protecting Nadine. She admitted that perhaps she misunderstood or misperceived the emails, deeming them authentic at the time. According to what I heard, Nadine scrutinized her sister for a while without speaking. Then she inquired about the origin of the emails, asking Brittany where she obtained those emails if they were not stored on any server. The enigma of Brittany's story crumbled utterly at this point, as she found herself incapable of providing a satisfactory response to a question that eluded clear-cut resolution. She attempted and discarded 3 separate attempts at an explanation, for none could withstand the rigorous examination of Nadine Whitfield Callahan, a woman who rejects answers that fail to align with logic. After all, it was under her guidance that a company was constructed by posing such conundrums. Brittany had misjudged the character she sought to safeguard. Over the ensuing days, as Nadine persistently probed, the truth emerged piecemeal, and it was more damaging than I had anticipated. For over a year, Brittany had been disseminating information within our social circle, claiming that my marriage with Nadine was unhealthy, that I was domineering, and that I had estranged her from friends and kin. A wryly ironic allegation, given that the individual who consistently sowed discord in our matrimony was none other than Brittany herself. Brittany revealed her concerns about Nadine's relationship to at least 2 of her close friends, hinted to their mother about problematic behaviors, acted as a protective figure while subtly setting the stage for Nadine's need for protection. Subsequently, fabricated emails were created. Despite not being tech-savvy, Brittany hired someone online to generate convincing email exchanges with manipulated headers. Upon learning this detail, I experienced something uncommon, raw, cold anger. It wasn't aimed at me or the deception, but at the meticulousness of it all. This wasn't a spontaneous falsehood. It was a carefully constructed scheme. I wish to share with you that when Nadine contacted me 2 days after that confrontation, I felt something pure and straightforward. However, it wasn't as simple as that. On a Thursday morning, while at a construction site in Chandler, standing by a temporary road next to a large concrete structure ready for pouring, my phone rang with Brittany's name on it. I moved aside from the crew and took the call, as her name still evoked a response I hadn't suppressed. "I owe you something I can't express," she said. I remained silent. "Brittany, I owe you an apology I'm not certain how to offer," she continued, her voice unlike any in our previous conversations, more fragile than before. "2 years ago, I consulted a doctor due to insomnia, and he asked about my greatest fear. I told him it was being abandoned. I confided that my most profound dread was constructing something only to witness its collapse. And I believe Brittany understood. I think she knew precisely which door to approach. Yes, I acknowledged. I should have trusted you. Indeed, you should have, she replied. Is there, she paused, then restarted her sentence. Can I assist in any way? I observed a construction crew at a distance of 40 yards, skillfully maneuvering a steel rebar cage into its concrete mold. Their focus and precision demonstrated the essence of quality workmanship. They communicated minimally as each member knew their role. I'm not sure, I admitted truthfully. I'm not denying help, but I don't know what to do. What has occurred is beyond my immediate grasp. You evicted me from our home, and it took 11 days for you to contact me. You inquired whether I had contemplated my actions. I require time to comprehend the implications of your words, not regarding Brittany, but about us, about what you thought of me during crucial moments. She acknowledged understanding. Then she revealed something unexpected. I dismissed Brittany from Whitfield and Associates. This caused me to divert my attention from the construction site. She has been on Whitfield and Associates' payroll for 2 years, Nadine elaborated. I established roles for her such as wellness consulting, internal communications, and client event coordination due to necessity. I terminated her employment this morning. Additionally, I requested space from her for an indefinite period and warned that any contact with you would instigate legal proceedings for defamation and the production of false emails. Under the Arizona sun in February, I let my decision sink in. David Ferris is examining potential civil actions. The IT documentation is robust, I stated. The potential harm to my professional standing, had those emails spread further, Brittany intended to forward them to my company's upper management. During the discovery process, we discovered this when Nadine's attorney requested records. I hadn't disclosed this aspect to Nadine yet. There was silence on her end of the call when I mentioned it. She aimed to send them to your firm, Nadine whispered softly, not a question. Affirmative, another prolonged silence. It seems this wasn't about shielding me but rather dismantling you, Nadine stated. It was a matter of demolition. Correct, I replied. That's my belief as well. The divorce documents are still active while I speak to you. David indicates I can withdraw them if I wish. He neither advocates nor advises. He is a lawyer, not a relationship advisor. In the fortnight following our call on the Chandler construction site, Nadine and I have conversed 4 times, once for 2 hours. She has been candid in a manner that suggests she is disassembling meticulously to comprehend its flawed design. I appreciate this process because it mirrors my own. It's how I study why a structure collapsed. I cannot predict the end result. I am not claiming we are okay or that love triumphs overall or that everything has turned out well. I am a civil engineer. I rely on structures I can validate. As of now, I am unsure if what remains is structurally sound. However, this much is certain. Brittany Whitfield, a 35-year-old wellness consultant and Camelback Mountain sunrise photographer, is currently jobless within her family, estranged from her sister, and confronting a possible civil lawsuit for libel and fraud. She recently shared on Instagram, followed by Donna Garrett's wife, a post featuring a sunrise over the McDowell Mountains with a smoothie in the foreground, accompanied by a mysterious caption about harmful environments and guarding tranquility. The documents we assessed at Blanco Tacos in February were endorsed by the City Planning Commission 3 weeks later, indicating not only the legitimacy, but also the success of our project work during that dinner. 1. I'm aware that the grade separation on I-10 close to Chandler is proceeding as planned, with the structural components holding firm. In about 8 months, drivers in the Phoenix metro area can expect a safer, more streamlined interchange, thanks to a dedicated team who executed their technical tasks precisely and without fuss. 2. When Nadine asked during our fourth phone conversation what she could do for me, I pondered for a while before responding. What I requested was, I need you to promise that if any evidence about me ever surfaces again, your immediate action should be to contact me, not your lawyer or your sister, but me. That's the foundation I require. Everything else can be built upon it. She responded, yes, I won't tell you that's all there is. I'm still weighing my options. But I will tell you this. The man who packed a bag in 12 minutes and drove to his brother's apartment because his wife doubted him didn't remain shattered. He headed to work, amassed proof, contacted his lawyer, submitted documents, took phone calls when necessary, and ignored them otherwise. He didn't pretend to mourn in front of others, didn't get consumed by fury, didn't allow Brittany the pleasure of witnessing him crumble. Instead, he remained unaltered, and this, it appears, was his greatest strategy. For one can falsify an email, stage a work gathering, construct a tale over extended periods with meticulousness born from idleness. But they cannot create 20 years of consistency in being who you claim to be. Brittany based her deception on the belief that I was concealing something, and when they searched for the hidden secret, they found none, as there was nothing to find. The framework remained intact. The foundation held strong. The house she sought to demolish still stands. At rock bottom, when someone you care about casts you out due to deceit, when your nights are spent on couches and days consumed by takeout and longing for an unreturned call, it may seem like the end of the tale. It's not the end. Sometimes being trusted is the key to revealing who truly trusts you, and often the one who strived hardest to undermine you becomes the one who illuminates, unwittingly, all the flaws in your life that needed mending. I didn't ask for these lessons. I didn't seek to spend 22 nights on Garrett's couch. I didn't plan for my marriage to be threatened by a woman who makes a living capturing sunrises and calls it a career. Yet here I am, aged 44, a civil engineer, standing firm on solid ground. That's the only kind of foundation I know how to construct.